Right, what we're going to talk about today is 5 of the most common issues and questions that women in their 30s have when it comes to getting in shape, weight loss, getting strong, getting in the gym, all that stuff. So you might be able to relate to some of these. Previous version of myself definitely could. Going through the top 5. Now for context, I'm Rachel, personal trainer and online coach. Last 6-7 years, I've helped countless women get in incredible shape, lose fat, get strong, feel better in themselves, feel more confident. So this is kind of my jam. Now, we're just going to go through them step by step. 5 of the most common things women in their 30s have questions about or struggle with when it comes to getting in great shape. So the first one, sip of my brew. The first one is, why is it harder for me now in my 30s than it was in my 20s? I hear this a lot. And people will say, oh, your metabolism massively slows down as you get older, yada, yada, yada. And while there may be like an element of truth to that in that your metabolism does slow down, it certainly doesn't slow down between age of 25 and age of 30. The real issue is you have a significant change in your lifestyle. So there's generally a bigger lifestyle switch that happens when you're in your 20s. Chances are you had less responsibilities, more time, you were generally more active even if you weren't aware of it. Whereas now you're probably more senior in a job, you have more commitments, more responsibilities, you may have kids, family members to take care of. There's a lot at play as to the time availability you have, your stress levels, and again, not that stress directly causes you to struggle to lose weight, it's what stress, it's the coping mechanisms around stress. So that can be things like comfort eating, emotional eating. It can be that you're stressed and therefore you don't want to go for the walk, that you don't want to go to the gym. These things are all the real reasons why it's harder in your 30s than it was in your 20s. There isn't a specific thing as to it's because you've suddenly hit 30 and everything has changed chemically as to why you can't. So, because the reality is the exact same principles apply as to how to get in great shape, but the difference is it's managing that around your current lifestyle. And that is what we do inside FSF. We look at what your routine is, how do we get more steps in, how do we get active, where do we do training, how much training, what does the nutrition strategy need to look like. So there's more to consider and it feels more serious, I would say, in your 30s, because in your 20s you can probably just get away with going on a diet, those kinds of things. Second question, do I need to count calories to lose weight? No, you don't. I actually have another video on this somewhere. Scroll around, find it. You don't need to count calories. There are numerous ways of understanding the food that you eat. The key thing is, and where tracking calories is good, is it brings awareness to what you're doing. And if you want to get in shape, if you want to lose fat, diet is key. And we need a method that is bringing awareness and accountability to your eating behaviours. So that's why counting calories can be helpful, because there's a process that you go through. It's not to say that it's the only process, the best process, that it works for everybody. But things like just taking pictures of your food, keeping a written diary, going off portion sizes. There's numerous ways of managing food intake. Counting calories is just one of them, and it can be an effective way. Do you need to do it forever? Absolutely not. I actually would encourage you to have periods where you're not actively tracking your calories. You should be going through phases where you're focused on whatever method it is of tracking, of bringing awareness, and using that to build your knowledge, education, understanding of foods, of the foods that work for you, of the foods that you can eat frequently, of the foods that align with the outcome that you want. And then you go through periods where you're just continually putting that into practice, and you have a bit more flexibility and there's less kind of focus on it. That, to me, is what is healthy, because and then you're building on that knowledge base. If you have to rely on something constantly to feel in control of it, then it's not really beneficial long term. Number 3, what and how often should I be training? Now, this is a big one. And again, do a lot of training videos. This is a bit harder to answer because it is very different for everybody. The key things to think about are, what's the goal? What's your time availability? What do you enjoy doing? I would always say, as a standard, a minimum of 2 strength sessions a week. 3 is probably more ideal for the majority of people. And that can be a mixture of strength and a bit of cardio. If you enjoy cardio or you've got fitness related goals, then it's then bringing those elements in. But by no means do you have to do cardio exercise if you don't like it, or there's ways of implementing things, even with weights, to get a bit more of a cardiovascular benefit. So it's kind of looking at what your goals are, what your time availability is, what you like and enjoy doing, and then factoring that into the week. Because you also don't need any of that to lose body fat. You need your good diet and general activity in terms of steps and movement and things like that. I always recommend the strength training, especially for women, because we're also going to build some lean muscle mass. It's going to help strengthen our bones, joints, ligaments, which is really important as we get older, and give you that shape and that toned look that so many women want. You're not going to get that without some form of resistance training. But then outside of that, it's just looking at what are the time you've got and what you enjoy doing. So for instance, for me at the minute, I have both strength and fitness goals. So I'm doing strength sessions and running sessions as well. Do you have to run? Absolutely not. I survived for years without running. I just happen to like it now and want to get better at it. So it's these things, it's thinking about what your goals are and what you actually want to achieve, so that your workouts can be focused and structured and actually working towards something, rather than just aimlessly training because you think you have to. How do you stay motivated is question number 4. Big one. How do you stay motivated? You don't. That's the answer. You don't stay motivated. You have pockets of motivation and you utilize those to your advantage. But what you do is you use the initial motivation that you have when you start doing something to try and instill those habits and try and find purpose in what you're doing and intentionality with what you're doing and some kind of enjoyment in what you're doing as well. It can be really difficult, and I know nobody wants to hear, and it sounds so cliche coming from a coach of like, it's just discipline, not motivation. But it's like, it's thinking about not how can I motivate myself, but how can I make this a consistent part of my life? That is what is key. What can I do to make it easier? How can I remove the friction points? And things like that are, if you want to start going to the gym in the morning, you're not necessarily going to always be motivated to do that, but what's going to make it easier or more likely that's going to happen? So, setting an alarm or several alarms, having everything ready the night before so that you can just get changed, there's water there, you've got everything set up. It's doing the things that are going to make it easier for you and more likely that it's going to happen. That's what you need to focus on, as opposed to just motivation, because motivation will come and go. Like, I love training now, but there are days where I'm not motivated to train. It's just, I know it's that day, it's that time, that is what I do. So it's thinking about those things and just thinking about why, again, reminding yourself of why you're doing it, the outcome that you want, and also the feeling that you get from doing the positive behaviours that you're wanting to be motivated for. Once you start to see the benefit of them, you need less and less motivation because you get a reward from doing it. So those are the things to think about: re-motivation and action taking. And the final question number 5, is what is a realistic time frame for getting results? And I wanted to include this one because it is so important that I think we're really missing the point with all these 8-week shreds and 12-week transformations, because frankly, it isn't enough time. Now, don't get me wrong, I could go on an 8-week cut and do a before photo of me now and an 8-week cut and an after photo, and I would probably look pretty shredded, and you'd be like, well, there's an 8-week transformation. But the reality is I've spent 6-7 years building my physique, and that's what we're missing. We really need to start differentiating between results that are quick when people have had a long time in the game and people expecting great transformations when they're just starting out. So you can totally make amazing progress in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. In the sense of you can lose a decent amount of body fat. You can start to have better posture, looking better, building some muscle tone. You can start to just generally feel better, move better, perform better, eat better. There's so much that can be achieved in those short time frames. But in terms of how you actually maybe want to look, that is a much longer process. And it isn't as simple as I'm just going to do this for 8 weeks and then I'm there. We actually need to go through phases of, you might lose some body fat initially, and then it's about going into a bit of a build phase or a maintenance phase where you're eating well, eating consistently and growing some muscle tissue and getting stronger. And then you might have another sort of fat loss phase. This is what the reality is and what really needs to happen, as opposed to just that you can do something for 8 weeks or 12 weeks, have an amazing result, and then suddenly you're set for life. It doesn't really work like that. So I always think, and I say to people that, you know, you can get really good results in 3 months if you're committed to the process, and it's kind of, and you're in nice and easily. Some clients will come in and they will just adapt to everything straight away. Some people, it takes 4 weeks to find the level of consistency required for them to make progress long term. So it's really not as straightforward as that. This is what to expect. But if you can get in and on a roll with it, you know, you can start seeing some great results in 3 months. 6 months is an absolute, like, I think if you can commit to something for 6 months, you can really see a change. And then it's anything beyond that. If you're willing to think, do you know what, I'm going to commit a year to this, you will then be surprised of what you can achieve. And there's always that quote, isn't there, that's like, people massively overestimate what they can achieve in, you know, X amount of weeks, but significantly underestimate what they can achieve in a year. And I see that time and time again. And I really think it's part of the process for women, that if we let go of this expectation of wanting something so quick and actually putting some time investment into it and thinking, well, I'm just going to commit to it for 12 months. That time's going to pass anyway. Rather than thinking I want to achieve something rapid in 3 months, I'm going to give it 12 months and guarantee the transformation that you will have then will be far superior. Those are the top 5 questions that I get asked, spoken about, have conversations about. If you've got more questions or something specific you want to answer, drop it below or message me on Instagram. But let me know how you found this, and I'll see you in the next video.